There's drawing tools. So, you know, I can make a, oh, that's kind of, I have it set to fill. I guess that's because I was setting up traps. So let me set the drawing tools back to the default appearance. That would be not the fill. Let's do no fill, and I'll do like a little bit of a thicker line maybe. Yeah, so I can just sort of draw. Hello. You can sort of freehand draw stuff. There's shapes. I can draw, you know, a rectangle, ellipse. You can make sort of polygon type shapes. Just for sketching stuff, if you need to like quickly do something. There's also, you can label things. So your text drawings can be, oops, I do need a visible fill here. I should use the disclaimer that I'm running this on a live development version of the software. So there's a couple of features that are not quite in the stable version right now that that are currently in alpha and beta testing. So there's the release cadence that goes through. There's a stable release version that presumably most everyone's using. And then as I add new features, I take them through an internal sort of alpha to test them out, and then a beta where you know, more people are using them, and then eventually those are stable that everyone can and hopefully should use them. This is like the very latest build, so there might be a couple of little nuances there, but yeah, so you can just sort of label different areas of the map, you know, crossroads, statue. These can just be for your notes, or these can be visible to all the players. Like I can make a label hidden, so it's like a little bit more muted. Players wouldn't see that. I can just use it for my own game master, you know, knowledge to kind of keep track of some things.
Yeah.
Walls.
My favorite. Yeah, the walls are pretty cool, and the lighting. That's like definitely.
Yeah, I was just kind of going in order, but I guess I'm maybe saving the best for last, which is the way that the walls system works is hopefully very easy to use. So for example, let's make a tree a terrain wall here, and I'll show you what that does in terms of the consequences. I'm going to drag your token over here so I can show the wall system and the difference that it makes.
Yeah.
You notice how the lighting is evolving when the token moves. That's because of the way that the walls work. So walls govern what your character is able to see, what they're able to perceive, where they're able to move. So I can create, say, a terrain wall around this tree. To create walls, you just sort of drag and drop. It's these little line segments, and what I'm doing is I'm holding the control key so that each one chains from the previous one. And I'm just going to connect this here, and they'll sort of snap together. And once I've created this terrain wall, when I select the token, you'll notice that the tree itself is visible, but the area behind the tree is not. So terrain wall is a particular type of wall. There's many different types, but the terrain wall is one type that is pretty neat. It allows you to see the obstacle, which is encircled by the terrain, but it doesn't allow you to see what is behind the terrain, which is a nice alternative to, say, a regular wall. I can convert the type of all of these walls very easily. I can convert these to be regular walls, which is what I would get if I just used the sort of default wall tool. And with a regular wall, you'll notice that you just don't see the tree. You know that you see that something's there. Regular walls are great for many things. If it's the wall of a building, or if it's a hard obstacle where you don't need to see the wall, the obstacle itself, a regular wall is what you'll want. But in cases like this, it's a little bit, it takes the player kind of out of the moment, because they kind of have to ask, like, well, what is this thing? Is this like a giant boulder? Is it a big bush? Like, I don't know what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, I just used terrain walls. So I have my characters. It's perfect for outdoors like this. Like, I have them in a city, but they're outside in the streets of the city. And obviously there's buildings. You should know there's a building there. You shouldn't be able to see through the building. So I used them. They went through alleys and whatever, had a fight in the alleys, and it works perfectly. And the regular walls are perfect for a dungeon.
Yeah, I think that's generally a good rule of thumb. There's obviously like special cases where you'll always find, oh, this is the perfect situation to use this one particular type of wall. There's also invisible walls. There's lots of different wall types. I probably won't go into all of them, but suppose this fallen tree was like a very significant obstacle. In this case, it's not, but let's just pretend it is. I could put an invisible wall here and say like, oh, the player cannot climb over this tree. They can see past it, but if they try and move their tokens here, I'm trying to move my token, and I'm just getting blocked. I'm getting blocked by this fallen tree. It's not letting me move past it because there's an invisible wall there. So
Yeah,
you
I
can
could have actually used that. I was at a river in the middle of the map that's like on a way lower. And my character just walked right in, even though it's like 10 feet down. So I should have put like an invisible wall there.
Yeah, I mean, and there's other cool stuff you can do. Like I have invisible walls set up down, I think on this map, down by this pit. That's kind of like
Yeah,
what you're talking about here.
exactly.
So this is kind of cool where what I did here is walls can be one directional as well. They can be one way. So here I have an invisible wall that is one way only. And so the consequence of that is that you can just move your token, you can jump into this pit, but you can't move back out. So I made a
Nice.
little trap here where like once you're in, you have to kind of go up where the ladder is. You can't go up over here. You have to kind of go up following the ladder. So
Cool.
that's kind of an interesting one. Then, of course, doors is really
Yes.
one of Foundry's very cool features. So I know on some other platforms, like maybe you have to do a little bit more like hands-on management of I'm in this room, I want to move to the next room. So you have to kind of ask, oh, DM, can you please open this door for me? The cool thing about Foundry is doors are their own kind of distinct concept, and the player, as you can see, like my hands are off. This is just Andrew doing this. The player can kind of open and close the door on his own and on her own, and a door is just a specific type of wall. Every wall can be a door. So walls, you just configure your doors the same way that you configure your walls. It's just when you're configuring them, there's a little option that it can be a door, it can be a secret door. So a secret door, for example, if this were a secret door, what would happen is it would look to the player, it would look just like a regular door. Now on my screen, I have this door icon right here, but the player wouldn't see that. If I had this as a secret door, they would just see just a wall. Now I have Andrew set up, I think, with the ability to see these, but in general, if I were to configure this as a secret door, then that would be hidden from all of your players, and they would not be able to see it, that it's a door, or manipulate it. But I, as the game master, can do that. But a regular door is one that your players would get to see the icon, so they would know that there is a door there, and they would be able to open and close it.
And what about the windows? What are you using for that?
There's a couple ways to do the windows. That depending on how you want to do it. Now, a lot of folks for a window might just use an invisible wall, and that would be good for like a two-way, like a two-directional window. So you're outside the house, you see that there's a cultist in this room. The cultist looks out, the cultist sees that you're outside the window. You both have equal information about each other. So that's one way that you could handle it. Another way that you could handle windows is if you maybe wanted to plan a little bit of an ambush. So maybe the windows are cloudy or they're slightly boarded up or something. Maybe you want to pretend like the people inside the house can see out of the window, but the people outside the house can't see in. In this case, I might set a one-way direction on the wall that would limit it to be blocked from one way, but not from the other. So if I did it this way, then outside the house, you're not seeing into the window, but inside the house, the cultist would be seeing out. So if I drag you in here, you would notice that when you're inside, you're seeing out of the window, and you could sort of look out, you could climb out, whatever you wanted to do. When you're outside the house, you're not seeing in. So depending on how you want to configure your walls, if you want to kind of preserve the element of surprise, because these cultists are sort of laying in wait to spring an ambush, you want maybe them to be able to look out and see the party outside. Or if the roles were reversed, if the heroes were kind of holed up in this place and they're preparing to defend themselves against some enemies that are coming to get them, they might be wanting to be able to see out of the windows in that sense. So there's lots of customization. Like the default wall types give you a starting point where I can make a secret door or a wall or an ethereal wall or a terrain wall, but those different names are just combinations of properties. So you can just edit any one wall to kind of achieve any of the different effects that you want. One last quick comment on doors is that I can lock doors. I just right click on it and then I have a
Hmm.
door that's locked. So it would still appear as a door to the player, but when they try and open it, they won't be able to. They'll discover that it's a locked door. So you can have doors that are set up in your map, but they're not able to be opened by the player until they are unlocked by the game master.
Nice. Yeah, that's a cool feature.